kind of dirtbags, to be honest. Or you kind of had, oh, this uncle's a mafioso and he lived in like a retarded house, big money. You know what I mean? Like, and it was just like so wealthy that it was like, holy, like drug money. And I think, you know, like any other business, I think there was a dichotomy. But what I'm saying is, like, as the newer stuff comes about, and this is not a knock on anybody, but like not Benji, there's a guy named Kenji Gallo, and I was a little underimpressed by him, to be honest with you. With Gene and with what's his name, John Rubio, he was saying the feds were giving me $15,000 a month cash, and I'm not
really.
I'm gonna sound. I'm just gonna be transparent. Like, I do okay, right? And for me, as an Italian American growing up, and me being peripheral to that life, if I'm gonna risk my life, if I'm gonna risk my wife's life, my kid's life, like, it better be like real money, because the ends have to justify the means. I'm not justifying that life. I'm not justifying the killing. I'm just saying, as an Italian American guy from New Jersey, $15K enough is not enough for me to dodge vans outside. Now, John, I don't know what you made. I'm not knocking if you made more or less. That's why we're asking. But I'm just saying, like, what I'm getting at is, like, I'm trying to grasp what the money situation was like. So walk us through kind of right before what we were making, your revenue streams, if you will, and then what happened after, and give us, if you could, as specific as you can in terms of dollars.
It's, so here's the thing, is that what you were talking about seeing people in big houses, and there was a lot more money to be made years ago.
Agreed.
You know, I personally know for a fact that Michael Francesi was making big major money. There was no doubt about it. And coming from my neighborhood, Johnny A-Lot was also making big money. You know, I don't know the numbers, but these guys were making money, because you got to remember, times were different back then. It was a bit different era to make that kind of money, where our Borgata, we were heavily into also the construction industry, the unions. That all changed, as we talked on a side note. That all changed with the government put overseers in these unions, and there was not a lot of that kind of money going around. The drug business was booming years ago, and a lot of guys made a lot of money. A lot of guys in our family made big money from years ago, and they had, you know, millions and millions of dollars, and it came from, you know, the back in the days Harlem was, you know, blowing up in the drug business. And a lot of guys are ex-junk pushers, as they would call them, right? But for ourselves, in my time, you know, what I've witnessed is a lot of wise guys chasing the same dollar, and chasing each other, and also trying to cut each other's throat for that dollar. And so, you know, one thing is, yes, you're always going to have, like I mentioned, gambling. And I've told you, I was not a big money maker in the gambling business. I got by. It was more like pocket money and going out money, but it wasn't nothing significant. I could have probably built it up, but I don't like chasing people for money. And it's just something I didn't want to get involved in. So I kind of phased myself out. On the same token, with loan sharking, it can be very profitable, but there are a lot of headaches that come along with that business. I did make money in that business, and it was kind of like a salary every week. It just was a lot. It was more trouble than it was worth. You know, it was a lot of trouble, that business. I've never had trouble getting my money. I did, but it was just chasing your money. But one of the biggest earns or scores, as we would say, is when you have these legitimate business guys, and there's a business deal going wrong where one person beats another business out of money. And as a last resort, as I told you, what do? They want to go, and we would call it rent a wise guy. Now you want to rent the wise guy for the day and go to him and say, hey, X, Y, and Z owes me this kind of money, and can you go collect it for me? And now we would come in, and a lot of people put a percentage of what they want. I had my own set of rules when it came to this. If we are collecting your money and you had zero, we'll tell you what you're getting. We're going to take what we want, and we're going to tell you what you're getting, because what we give you beats zero. You know, and a lot of guys would try to, they knew from past experience, other people, oh, well, you know, I'll give you so much. You're not going to dictate to me what you're going to give me, because I'm going to get your money. I put myself on the line, because you never know what you're going to run into. And you have one shot, in the way I did it, you have one shot at getting this done. I don't return a second time. Other guys and friends of ours have. I believe on that second trip, you're opening yourself up to all kinds of things that could happen. One being, the whole place could be wired up. They could be filming you. He could be what? I just never went back a second time. I don't care what kind of money was involved. But that kind of money was really our big earn back then, because probably still to this day, because it was an easy one for us. It was, we would go in, and there's one story where a guy that had he was a supplier of the construction business. So he was like one of the suppliers, and he owed another company, or somebody owed him, rather, sorry. They owed him about 105,000, 104,000, whatever it was. And we were going to collect it. And it was Johnny Sideburns, it was Spanky, who's Big John's brother, and I took a guy with me that was with me, and myself, and we went to a concrete firm, like, you know, where they pushing out concrete trucks. And so we get there early in the morning, like 5 something in the morning. It's pitch dark. And we go in, I think it was Spanky's car. It was an Audi. And now you have, at that time in the morning, you have all the workers and they're preparing for the day. And here comes this car filled with guys at 5 something in the morning. And everybody's looking, and we don't know our way around this yard, this concrete plant. And they're all looking, and we wind up figuring out where the office is. And the office is dark, and all of a sudden someone opens up the door. So I said, let me get out of the car. I went by myself, and you know, the motion light comes on, and I see it's a guy. And we were there except for a guy named Mike. So I walked over. Now the guy stopped because he sees me walking, and he probably can't even see me too good because the darkness is behind me. And I said, are you Mike? And he said, no, Mike's my father. So what am I going to tell this kid? So I said, all right, what time's your father getting? He says, he'll be in about an hour. I said, tell him we'll be back. That's all I said. Never made a threat. Got back in the car. I told him, let's get the hell out of here. And we went to a diner and went to go eat. And I said, you know, that's it. I'm not going back. The guy was, you know, looked like a deer caught in headlights when he was looking at me. And by at least, I think it was by, so this is now like, you know, we're in the diner and maybe it's like 6 something in the morning. By 9:30 or 10 o'clock, I got a call to meet with somebody, and I met, and they said, you're never going to believe this. The guy called me up, and the father, Mike, went over, paid the guy $105,000.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So hold on. What was your cut?
Well, they kind of screwed me out of this. They kind of screwed me. I only got about $2,000-3,000 out of that, and it's because it wasn't my thing. I think Spanky and Johnny Sideburns took the bulk of the money and then had the balls, and I'll say the balls, to turn around and tell me that the guy that because I went to them and says, what's going on with the rest of this money? He was collecting this money from this guy. And they said, oh, Johnny Sideburns told me, you're not going to believe this. I said, what? He says, the guy we collected the money for, we found out that he's wearing a wire. So when he said it, I knew they were full of shit, that they glommed the money. Because don't forget, I was very new at this time. Like,
were you made
like months new? Yes. And I was like months new into that life, and not into that life, but as a friend. And I knew right away that they bullshitted me to try to say, oh, we can't go get no more money from him because we found out he's wearing a wire. And there was no worry whatsoever. I said, so we're getting pinched. You know that, right? Yeah. And, well, you know, but they didn't seem too worried about it. So I knew.
Well, I have two questions, John. And then
Yes.
let me throw up two questions. The first is, I'm super fascinated by this part. You know the gross percentage of commission the mob took? Or was it 30%, 20%, 50%? Like, what was it?
On what?
Like the 105, 105,000. What was a rough commission gross taking?
Some people would take 10, 15%. I mean, I believed in taking half. Well, listen, you got to understand, you know, Tom, you know, we are exposing ourselves and putting ourselves out there. What, you know, there was somebody with Johnny Gotti one time went in to shake a place down. The guy shot him and killed him, you know, years ago. What was Anthony Mosca? So, you know, he was a friend. You know, you're exposing yourself to all kinds of things that can go wrong. So, you know, like you just said earlier, right? I'm not going to put myself and my life out. Same thing. I'm putting my freedom, my life on the line.
So good point. So I get the percentages vary. It could be half, could be whatever it is.
It can, but some guys try to keep it to 10%.
Yeah.
If you're collecting money for somebody, like in the Bagada, and you're